And that's why I said that's why he didn't get the money last year, and he wasn't gonna get the money this year. Like, you're 24. It looks like a very selfish 24 to the point where nobody wants.
Wait.
Yes, it does. That's what I was telling you.
No.
If you can argue all you want, they just cut the man. Yeah.
Let me say this right now. Cam Thomas might be one of the most talented scorers in the NBA, and he also might be one of the most misunderstood players in the league, because in today's NBA, being a bucket isn't enough anymore, and Cam Thomas is finding that out in real time. This is the story of a player who can drop 40 on any night, but he still hasn't convinced a team that he helps them win. When Cam Thomas entered the league, the scouting reports were simple. This guy can score, isolation scoring, tough shot making, mid-range pull-ups, step backs, and contested shots. It didn't matter who was guarding him or how difficult the shot looked. If Cam Thomas had the ball, he believed he could get a bucket. And early on, he proved it. There were stretches where he caught fire and looked unstoppable, multiple 30-point games, explosive scoring runs, games where he completely took over. For a young player, that kind of production gets attention fast. Fans loved it, highlights were everywhere, and the conversation started. Is Cam Thomas the next great scorer? But in front offices, the conversation sounded very different, because NBA teams don't just look at points, they look at impact. And when you look deeper at his game, the concern starts to show. Yes, he can score, but he often needs high number of shots to do it. There were stretches where his field goal percentage hovered around the low 40s and sometimes dipping below 39%. For a high usage guard, that level of efficiency raises questions, because if a player needs heavy volume to get his numbers, it can slow the offense and limit ball movement. Then there's playmaking. Cam Thomas has never been a player to create for others. His assist numbers stay low, and his game is built around getting his own shot rather than organizing the offense. And then comes the biggest concern: defense. Since he entered the league, defense has been an area where he struggled the most. Point of attack defense, fighting through screens, off-ball positioning, and consistent effort on that end. In today's NBA, guards get targeted. If teams see a weak defender, they attack him over and over again, and that becomes a problem in close games and especially in the playoffs. This is where the perception of Cam Thomas started to change. Instead of being viewed as a future star, he started being viewed as a specialist, because there's a big difference between a player who can score and a player who can contribute to winning basketball. If the ball sticks when you touch it, if teammates aren't involved, if the defense is giving up as much as the offense produces, the team starts to question your overall value. And that's the situation he's been navigating in Brooklyn until recently. Cam Thomas was waived by the Brooklyn Nets, and now he's been signed by the Milwaukee Bucks. It's a fresh start, but it comes with a clear message. Only being a scorer isn't going to extend his career. On the Bucks, he'll have to learn quickly that being a more complete player, making teammates better, defending and playing within the system is what earns trust and playing time. This is the moment where Cam Thomas either evolves or risks staying as a situational scorer. The modern NBA demands versatility, especially from guards. Teams want players who score efficiently, make quick decisions, and hold their own on defense. Even some of the league's best scorers have to evolve their game. Donovan Mitchell improved his efficiency and defensive effort. Other high volume scorers learn to balance scoring with team impact. That evolution is what separates stars from specialists. And right now, Cam Thomas is at that same turning point. The good news for him is this: the hardest skill in basketball is creating your own shot, and he already has that. What he needs to develop now is everything around it: better shot selection, more efficient scoring, willingness to move the ball, and consistent defensive effort. Because explosive scoring gets attention, but efficient, complete play earns trust from coaches and front offices. The next phase of his career is critical. The NBA is always bringing in new talent. Every year there are young guards who can score. What separates players long term isn't just how many points they can put up, it's whether their presence makes the team better. If Cam Thomas improves his efficiency and becomes an average defender, his value changes immediately. If he adds more playmaking, he becomes a starting caliber guard. But if those areas don't improve, teams will start to see him as a limited player. And limited players don't get long leases in the league. We've seen this pattern before. Players with scoring talent who never expanded their games. At first, the points keep them on the floor, then the role starts to shrink, then minutes drop, and eventually, they're fighting just to stay in rotation. The league doesn't move slowly, it moves on. And that's why Cam Thomas is one of the most important young players to watch right now. Because he's standing at a crossroad. One path leads to becoming a complete offensive weapon who can start, close games, and be a part of a winning core. The other path leads to becoming a situational scorer who comes off the bench and struggles to hold a long-term role. And the difference between those two outcomes isn't talent, it's development. The confidence is there, the scoring ability is there, The mindset to take big shots is already there. Now it comes down to growth. Can he become more efficient? Can he defend with consistency? Can he make the simple play with the defenders collapsing? If yes, his ceiling is much higher than people realize. If the answer is no, his role in the league could become much smaller than his talent suggests. Because in today's NBA, potential doesn't last forever. At some point, teams stop asking what you could become and start judging on what you actually bring to winning. And that's the stage Cam Thomas is entering right now. The next stretch of his career will tell us everything, whether he becomes a long-term piece for Milwaukee, whether he develops into a complete guard, or whether he stays with what he's been doing so far. A talented scorer, still searching for his full impact. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to the channel for more NBA breakdowns, stories, and real conversations about the game. Because on this channel, we don't just talk about highlights, we talk about what actually determines careers.